Hello there and welcome to House Lux Estate, your one-stop channel for all things finance and economy. We're here to illuminate your path to financial literacy, and today we're tackling a topic that's as intriguing as it is impactful: inflation. We'll be peeling back the layers of this economic phenomenon, exploring its intricate workings, and most importantly, discussing how it could potentially shape the lives of generations yet unborn. So buckle up and stay with us as we delve into the fascinating topic of inflation and its potential effects on future generations. To understand the effects of inflation, we first need to understand what inflation is. Inflation, in its simplest form, is the increase in the general level of prices over a period of time. Picture it as an invisible force that makes your money worth less and less as time goes on. You see, when inflation is at work, the same amount of money buys fewer goods and services than it did in the past. But why does inflation occur? It's typically caused by an increase in the supply of money in an economy. When there's more money circulating in the economy than there are goods and services available, prices tend to rise. This can happen due to various factors, such as government spending, consumer demand, or even global economic conditions. And how do we measure inflation? Economists use a tool called the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, which tracks the price of a basket of goods and services over time. By comparing the cost of this basket at different points in time, we can gauge how much prices have increased, giving us the rate of inflation. But inflation isn't always bad. A moderate level of inflation is actually seen as a sign of a healthy, growing economy. However, when inflation gets too high, it can cause a lot of problems, and that's where future generations come into the picture. Now that we understand what inflation is, let's explore how it impacts future generations. Inflation, as we've seen, can have a profound impact on the economy. But how does it affect future generations specifically? Let's dive into that. Inflation is like an unseen tax that chips away at the value of money over time. If left unchecked, it can significantly erode the purchasing power of future generations. Imagine this: $100 today could be worth only $50 a few decades from now in terms of what it can buy. This is due to the general increase in prices of goods and services over time. This decrease in purchasing power can lead to a higher cost of living. Future generations may find that they need to earn more just to afford the same standard of living that we enjoy today. This is particularly concerning in areas such as housing, education, and healthcare, where costs have been rising faster than general inflation. Inflation also affects investment decisions. When inflation is high, people may be less likely to save money because the value of their savings will decrease over time. This could lead to a decrease in investments, which are crucial for economic growth and job creation. Moreover, inflation can indirectly affect future generations by influencing government policies. In an attempt to control inflation, governments may raise interest rates. While this can help slow down inflation, it can also make it more difficult for people to borrow money for things like houses, cars, and education. This could potentially put these important life milestones out of reach for some people in future generations. Lastly, inflation can lead to income inequality. Those with fixed incomes, such as retirees, are particularly vulnerable to inflation. As prices rise, their income remains the same, making it harder for them to afford their daily needs. This could widen the gap between the rich and the poor, creating a more unequal society for future generations. Inflation can indeed pose significant challenges for future generations. But what can we do about it? While inflation can be daunting, there are ways to manage its effects. Inflation has the potential to erode the purchasing power of your money over time. But fear not, there are strategies to cope with inflation. Let's dive into some of them. First off, consider investing in inflation-protected securities. These are bonds that are designed to help investors fight inflation. Their principal or interest rate increases with inflation, as measured by the Consumer Price Index. In other words, as inflation rises, so does the return on these bonds. This can provide a reliable stream of income that keeps pace with inflation, helping to maintain your purchasing power. Another strategy is to invest in assets that historically have provided a hedge against inflation. Real estate and stocks are examples of such assets. Over the long term, these investments have generally outpaced inflation. However, keep in mind that these investments also come with their own sets of risks and are not suitable for everyone. Diversifying income sources can also be a smart move. This could mean having multiple streams of income, such as a salary, rental income, dividends from stocks, or returns from a side business. The idea here is not to rely solely on one income source that might be severely affected by inflation. Additionally, it's important to focus on increasing your income over time. This could be through gaining new skills, switching jobs, or starting a business. The goal is to increase your income at a faster rate than inflation, hence maintaining or improving your lifestyle. Lastly, consider investing in education. This may sound cliché, but knowledge is power. Understanding how inflation works and staying updated on economic trends can help you make informed decisions about your finances. Remember, the best strategy to cope with inflation depends on your personal circumstances, financial goals, and risk tolerance. It might be beneficial to seek professional financial advice to tailor a plan that suits you. As we've seen, while inflation can be challenging, there are ways to navigate its effects. Policymakers have a crucial role to play in managing inflation. Indeed, their actions, or sometimes inaction, can influence the course of our economy and by extension the financial future of the next generation. Let's dive a little deeper into this. One of the primary tools in the policymaker's kit is what we call monetary policy. These are decisions made, often by a central bank, that set the course for the country's money supply. By adjusting interest rates or the amount of money in circulation, policymakers can either cool down an overheated economy or stimulate growth in a sluggish one. Let's imagine the economy is like a car and inflation is the speed. If the car is going too fast, it can lead to a crash, a scenario we'd equate to hyperinflation. On the other hand, if the car is moving too slow, it can cause traffic buildup, akin to economic stagnation. The policymakers are the drivers, using monetary policy as the accelerator and brakes to maintain an optimal speed. Another key role policymakers play is promoting economic growth. They do this by implementing policies that encourage investment, innovation, and competition. They might lower taxes for businesses, invest in infrastructure, or reduce regulatory hurdles. These actions can stimulate the economy, creating jobs and increasing wealth. However, they must be careful to balance this growth with the risk of inflation. For instance, if the economy grows too quickly, demand might outpace supply, leading to price hikes. Conversely, if the economy grows too slowly, it could lead to deflation, a decrease in the general price level of goods and services. Both scenarios can have detrimental effects on future generations. In essence, policymakers must walk a tightrope, balancing the need for economic growth with the risk of inflation. They have the power to shape the economic landscape, influencing everything from the price of your morning coffee to your retirement savings. Policymakers, therefore, have a crucial role to play in ensuring a stable economic environment for future generations. Their actions today will echo into the financial realities of tomorrow, shaping the world our children and grandchildren will inherit. Inflation, while often seen as a negative phenomenon, is a normal part of a healthy economy. It's a complex concept that we've tried to distill down into digestible chunks in this video. But let's take a moment to recap what we've covered. We began by defining inflation as the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and subsequently, how purchasing power is falling. We learned that inflation is an inescapable part of our economic system and can have varying impacts on different sections of society. We then delved into the ways inflation affects future generations. We saw how it can erode savings and exacerbate wealth inequality, making it harder for the younger generation to achieve financial stability. However, we also highlighted how inflation can stimulate economic growth by encouraging spending and investment, which can lead to job creation and increased prosperity. In the next segment, we discussed coping strategies for inflation. We highlighted the importance of understanding the inflationary environment and making informed financial decisions. We talked about investing in assets that tend to appreciate over time, such as real estate and stocks, as a way to protect and potentially grow your wealth in the face of inflation. Lastly, we examined the role of policymakers in managing inflation. We learned about the delicate balancing act they must perform to keep inflation at a manageable level, using tools like interest rates and monetary policy. We also touched on the importance of fiscal policy and government spending in stimulating economic growth and mitigating the effects of inflation. In conclusion, while inflation can be a challenging economic reality to navigate, understanding its dynamics can empower us to make informed financial decisions and potentially turn these challenges into opportunities. And that's a wrap for today's deep dive into the world of inflation. If you found this video insightful and want to keep expanding your understanding of finance and economy, remember to hit the subscribe button. Remember to subscribe to House Lux Estate for more insightful videos on finance and economy. Thank you for watching.